From the Opupka Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching The Press Row. I'm Jenni Carlson here with Barry Trammell. Time for our weekly We Pick 'em segment. We're going to talk about BCS busters this week, Barry. Teams that could potentially mess with some of these teams high in the BCS rankings. And then, of course, we'll pick the locals. Let's get right to it. Let's start with this one, Barry. Florida, high in the BCS rankings, plays Georgia neutral site game. Who you got in this one?
Well, I'm going to take Florida because I just have seen too much out of Georgia inconsistent, too much out of Florida consistent. I mean, it's a remarkable job that Will Muschamp is doing. Big game in Jacksonville. If the Gators win it, they've won the SEC East before Halloween. A remarkable achievement.
Wow.
So now if Georgia wins, Georgia's in the driver's seat because if Georgia only has to win 2 more games against Rum-Dums in the SEC to win the East. So this, in effect, is the East title game. Florida has shown me more. I'm going with the Gators.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm surprised that, if you'd asked me to pick this game before the season started, I'd have picked the Bulldogs. I thought they were the better team, but Florida's really been good this year. I'm surprised how good they have been. Jeff Driscoll, really fantastic at quarterback. Saw some statistics comparing him to Tim Tebow, which I'm sure people in Florida are really tired of, but his numbers are very comparable, and this guy is winning like Tebow did. So I don't know if the Gators play for a national championship, but I don't think it gets derailed this week. All right, what about this one, Barry? A Big 12 showdown. Texas Tech goes to Kansas State, undefeated Wildcats, high in the BCS rankings. Can Tech knock them off?
Well, I think they can. I don't think they will. Frankly, I'm tired of picking against Kansas State. I picked
so
Iowa
Bill
State.
Snyder, Barry, come on.
I picked K-State to lose in Norman. I picked Iowa State to upset them in Ames. I picked West Virginia a week ago. That's it for me. It's Cats all the way the rest of the year. But Texas Tech is a solid team. Tommy Tuberville, let me tell you what Tommy Tuberville is doing. He's coaching himself into consideration for the Arkansas job.
Yeah.
And he's an Arkansas native, so he's done an excellent job. Tech's really good. But I think Kansas State gets it done with Colin Klein.
I do too. Colin Klein at the top of my Heisman ballot, has been for a couple weeks. I really like what Kansas State's done. I mean, these guys have shown to me they go on the road. They've won in those tough places. Barry, you mentioned those 3 games that you picked against them. I picked against them at OU, but I picked them to win those other 2. I think they're fantastic on the road. But they're at home this week. And I just think that they will handle Texas Tech, obviously one of those passing offenses. But K-State, for all the credit they get offensively, pretty good defensively too. They do not beat themselves. All right, what about this one, Barry? A surprise BCS high riser. Oregon State goes to Washington. Who you got in this one?
Well, I've got Oregon State in a tight one, and Mike Riley has done a phenomenal job. If the Beavers can get past this game, they've got a shot to go into the Oregon game 10-0. On November 24th. So they play at Stanford, they host Arizona State, they host Cal after this. So they got a chance to be 10-0. That would be a huge game in the state of Oregon. I like Oregon State. They've been very consistent, play good defense in a league that sometimes is lacking that. Washington has really been hit and miss, more miss than hit recently. I'll go with Oregon State.
Yeah, I think Oregon State wins this one as well. I picked against them a few times early in the year. I'm off that. They've made me convinced that they're definitely among the elite. Now, can they beat Oregon? I have no idea, but they will beat Washington on Saturday. Just an amazing story when you think about those 2 Oregon teams with a chance to play each other with a national championship berth on the line, essentially. You think about where we were last year in this state about this time. We had 2 teams pointing towards
Very
that.
similar.
Yeah, it was great. We didn't get there, but it was fun at the time, fun while it lasted. All right, let's go with the in-state teams, Barry. TCU, the new Big 12 member, comes to OSU. Who you got in this one?
Who's quarterbacking the Cowboys? I don't know.
Who's quarterbacking the Horned Frogs? They've had as much problem there, too.
Here's the deal. I think OSU wins if Wes Lunt plays, and I think Wes Lunt's playing. I think if Wes Lunt wasn't ready to go, I think J.W. Walsh might patch it up and keep playing. So I think OSU wins with Wes Lunt. Now, if Wes isn't able to go, if Clint Chelf is the quarterback, then now it becomes dicey. I think OSU would move the ball with Chelf. I think their offense is so good that it works, but it would basically be Chelf's college debut against a very tough coach in Gary Patterson. He would make life miserable for any quarterback. So I'll take OSU with the qualifier. Wes Lunt goes.
Yeah, and I think Wes Lunt's the guy too. I'm picking the Cowboys in this one, but he was on the sidelines 2 weeks ago at Kansas, didn't play. Suited out. They said they could have used him, but didn't. Same deal last week. And J.W. Walsh obviously playing through an injury that looks like it's effectively ended his season. He could potentially come back very late in the year, but whether he will or not remains up in the air. So I think Wes Lunt plays in this game. We've heard that he's dividing snaps with the first-team offense with Shelf. But if he's ready, and we've heard he was ready, has been ready, they've just been basically giving him that extra time, I think they win. TCU, they've allowed points. Let's be honest. They're as good as they are defensively historically. They've come into the Big 12, and they have allowed some points. And I think at OSU, I think the Cowboys score enough to beat them. All right, lastly, Barry, the big game of the week, the big game not only here, but nationally. Notre Dame comes to Oklahoma. Who you got?
I'm going to take the Sooners. I just believe in the offense of Oklahoma more than the offense of Notre Dame. Both teams play the good defense. I just can't see Notre Dame getting into the 20s on the Sooners, and I can see the Sooners getting into the 20s on Notre Dame.
Absolutely.
Not high. I mean, I don't think it's going to be 28-7, but I can see the Sooners getting to 20, 21, 23, a couple of touchdowns, a couple of field goals here and there. Notre Dame going to have trouble moving the ball. It's going to be an old-fashioned game. It's sort of going to be fun. If you like West Virginia Baylor, don't go to Owen Field. It's going to be something different. It's going to be a throwback. It's going to be like an old-fashioned Notre Dame-Oklahoma game.
Yeah, I think the score I picked was 24-16 or somewhere in that realm, and I've got Oklahoma winning this one as well. And it's so weird to me, Barry, I have to admit. A couple weeks ago, we're talking about all the things that are wrong with Oklahoma. This is wrong, no playmakers, bad recruiting, offense that doesn't have any stars, defense that doesn't have any stars. Now they're in the thick of things. It's amazing how quickly this is all turned around for Oklahoma. This would be a huge win. Obviously, they're going to need help. They're going to need lots of help, particularly need K-State to still lose to really vault them into a position to maybe play for a championship. But, I mean, the turnaround that they've had, remarkable, and I think they beat Notre Dame, just continue to roll. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoma.